Hi everyone, I'm Nicole and today I am going to do a cozy reading vlog, but with a little bit of a twist. The twist is, twist. Basically what I want to do is I want to read these books. I don't know if, I'm sure everyone's heard of Sabrina. I'm not debating that, but I'm not sure how many people read these books. I found them online and they were like a couple of quid each. And I was like, oh, I really want to like reread them. I will say I don't think I've ever read this one. Oh, and I'm not sure I've read this one. These three, I know for a fact that I owned and I loved them. So I mean, I thought it would be a fun idea. Hopefully it's a fun idea. I loved the TV show growing up. I really enjoyed the books that I owned of these growing up. I don't know what it would be like now because these are quite old. So I'm really hoping that there's nothing in here which isn't good that I never would have picked up on as a kid. That would be really sad. But I thought it would be a good transition from, you know, like October, November into the Christmas season, you know, with Haunts in the House and Santa's Little Helper. And yeah, essentially I just want to I want a cozy reading evening. It's like, it's Tuesday. It's a Tuesday today. But I want to do, yeah, just a cozy reading evening. I think that would be really nice. And this is like childhood nostalgia to me, and you know, at this point in 2020 I could do with some easy childhood nostalgia. Okay, 2020 can do one. So this is what we're going to be doing tonight. Strap yourselves in. This is so not me. So I just did about 10 minutes of filming and then realised I'm not filming. That was great. Right off the bat though, if you're wondering why I'm wearing like Christmassy stuff, that should hopefully be in a video coming out tomorrow. Hopefully. Yeah, so at this point in the video, on day one, I read two books. I read Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Scarabian Nights. Sabrina the Teenage Witch follows 3 episodes within season 1. So you have Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the pilot, and then you have the Rudy Kazudi episode where she accidentally turns a baby into an adult-sized baby, and you have Dream Dates where her aunts make her a dream date for the dance after Harvey has trouble saying no to Libby. Because Harvey doesn't really like dancers, so. And Sabrina's really disappointed because she wants to go with Harvey. So those are the 3 episodes that we follow. It was really interesting seeing them in book format. After I read it, I actually went back, as you can probably tell, and watched season 1. It took me a couple of days, but I did it. To be honest, the episodes aren't that long, so it took me like 2 evenings. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching the TV show again and reading the book. There are some minor differences which I only noticed because I did it like back to back. One of the differences or sometimes clothes they were wearing. It was really random. Sometimes the differences were subjective, I think, because sometimes I was watching it and felt, because this isn't a script, the author talks about how the characters are feeling in that moment, and I interpreted based on their acting. I interpreted something else, whereas the author, maybe she interpreted something else, or maybe she just decided to write it like that because maybe she thought it would be more interesting. I don't know. I'm saying she. I have no idea who the author is. But I did enjoy it. Oh, there was another difference. So the other difference was when it was in the Rudy Kazudi baby episode. So in the TV show, she accidentally turns the baby into a adult-sized baby, and when she goes to tell her aunts about it, they ask like, well, what did you do, what did you say, blah, blah, blah. And she can't really remember, but I think she remembers she said like, big boys don't cry. She also said be a big boy. But it's interesting because in the TV show, like, that was it. It was just like, oh, I said, you know, big boys don't cry. Whereas in the book, yeah, so it says, I said big boys don't cry, I know it's not PC, and then I rubbed his back. I thought that was an interesting addition, but because yeah, it wasn't in the TV show, but yeah, they decided to add into the book though. But I did enjoy my time with this, and I did enjoy then watching season 1, and yeah, it was a good time. The second one that I'd read at this point was Arabian Nights. So this one, it starts out with Sabrina, and she's on summer vacation, and she's very, very bored. And the thing is, it was slightly frustrating in the sense that Sabrina talking about how she's very, very bored kind of makes me very, very bored. So the first half wasn't that exciting. At one point, her Aunt Besta comes through on her way back from ancient Egypt and gives Sabrina a souvenir. The souvenir is to help her with her chores, one specific chore really, to help feed Salem. There's like a misunderstanding somewhere, which ended up whisking Sabrina, Salem and Valerie off to ancient Egypt. While in ancient Egypt, some empress or goddess or somebody fell in love with Salem and used like this bread and other stuff to have Salem fall under her spell. And while they were there, somebody had actually taken Sabrina's powers so that she couldn't zap everybody out. The funniest bits in here were actually with Hilda and Zelda. There were bits which were like, really? Because there was a bit which was like they had this deadline to find Sabrina, and then when they were in France they played volleyball, and I didn't really get that bit. But the funniest scenes in here like were with Hilda and Zelda. Also, while in ancient Egypt, like, they were coming up with plans, which was really interesting, but it was like these people who had been not the greatest to them throughout, like, you know, they're gonna be like serving Salem while they're here. They should be happy while they're here. And so they find a photo, or they dig through, they do something, and Harvey ends up in ancient Egypt. The guy that Valerie is interested in ends up in ancient Egypt, and I can kind of see how that happened, because it was very much like, oh yeah, let's make them happy kind of thing. How did Mr. Kraft get there? I still don't understand. I'm still confused. I don't understand how he got there, but he did. Mr. Kraft also ended up in ancient Egypt. I think this one there were actually some spelling mistakes and stuff like that. Not many, but a couple. Something I will say about this book is that the characters speak much older than their ages, I feel like. So it was an interesting story, but that one wasn't like I barely remember. This was one of the books that I had when I was a kid, and I feel like I really loved it as a kid, but I can't remember why. So at this point, I had also read While the Cat's Away. This one actually follows Salem. Well, it follows Sabrina, obviously, but it essentially what happens is there's a hurricane in the other realm which sends Drell way off course, and he ends up in the Spellman household. While he is there, he also brings something with him called a Heart's Desire chip, and apparently these are very, very sought after. He asks Sabrina to take care of it for safekeeping. She put it on her desk with a bunch of other stuff, and Salem ate it. And anybody who has watched Sabrina probably knows what his Heart's Desire is. He changed into a teenager. Of course, Drell finds out and he threatens Sabrina that she needs to fix this. Can I also just say with this one, Salem at school was introduced as Sabrina's cousin. Which is fine. Most strange people get introduced as her cousin, like out of the ordinary, out of the blue, like I've never seen you before kind of people. But it's said in the book that Harvey got jealous. And I'm like, why? I never understand why a boyfriend would be jealous of a cousin. I don't get it. I find it creepy. And why is it in so many books? Why? Yeah, so I wasn't very pleased with that. I think this book had like some funny moments in it as well, and there were a few moments which I could see playing out on screen. I don't know. It was a good story and some funny moments, but not my favourite. So we come to the final portion of the video where I read Haunts in the House and Santa's Little Helper. I read this one first, Haunts in the House, and this was my favourite growing up, and it's still my favourite now. I really, really enjoyed this. It takes place around Halloween, and at school, Mr. Kraft is axing all extracurricular activities, including cheerleading, including everything. So all the students have to come up with like a fundraising idea, and Sabrina suggests, oh, why not a haunted house fundraiser thing where we can charge admission, we can charge for candy, we can do this, we can do that. And so that's like part of the storyline. Another part of this storyline is at home. There's this hobgoblin, and basically what it does is it cleans the household. So a hobgoblin moves into a witch's household and cleans, basically. So they all love it at first except Salem. Salem hates it because it's kind of taking over his territory, it's eating his food, it's doing a lot of stuff Salem doesn't really appreciate. But honestly, this is my favourite. It's still my absolute favourite. I think it was amusing at first because this is one actually where I thought, oh, the characterization is really good, the people sound like they do in the TV show, and then Sabrina goes, just gave me a dynamite idea, and I was like, oh, maybe not. So this was definitely the funniest of all the books. Definitely the funniest. And the last book that I read, I'm actually going backwards in the series of books because I read Santa's Little Helper, and this one involves Jenny again, whereas the others spoke about, well, apart from the first one, the others spoke more about Valerie. So we're going back to season 1, but I really liked it. I think the beginning bit was a little bit, it took a little bit to get into, I guess, but I really did enjoy it. I think towards the end, the amount of times I was like, Sabrina, you're a witch. Because she was just like, oh my god, I don't know what to do. And it's like, you're a witch. Like, you can do freaking anything. Come on. So basically we follow Sabrina, of course. And she's really upset because it's Christmas time. She can't see her mum because, you know, giant ball of wax thing. And her dad's come down with witch blue flu, which is apparently very, very serious and very, very contagious in the witching world. So he ends up having to like spend Christmas in quarantine. Essentially, Sabrina loses her Christmas spirit. Another really random part of the story is Sabrina gives Harvey the voice of Elvis. There was an issue in where the presents for the kids because there were these kids who were orphans who came down to the mall and wanted some gifts, but the presents were stolen. Oh, and Santa went missing and it was a whole mess. But the ending was really, really sweet, and it was exactly what I wanted to happen as well. It was obviously done like so much like more magically and everything like that, but it was exactly what I wanted to happen, so I was very happy. And what it did was it really got me in like a Christmassy, like cozy Christmassy mood. I really enjoyed it. But that's all the books that I read for the Sabrina reading Reliving My Childhood. I relived my childhood very nicely. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I'm not going to include this one in my rankings because it is purely based on the 3 episodes within season 1. So out of the remaining, my least favourite, which was such a surprise to me, was Scarabian Nights, because I think it was one of my favourites growing up. Like, I remember loving it growing up, and I don't know what changed. It was okay, but it just wasn't my favourite, and it was confusing in places. Like, how did Mr. Kraft end up there? My second to last favourite is While the Cat's Away. It didn't make me feel good. It didn't make me feel good. Like, I think, yeah, so it was a good story but kind of sad at the same time. My second favourite is Santa's Little Helper. This is one of the new entries as well, so I really, like I say, I enjoyed my time with this. It was a little bit sad at first. I felt Sabrina was kind of entitled at first, but actually it was very heartwarming and it really got me into the Christmas spirit, which means my favourite of this mini reading thing is Haunts in the House. And I love that in the sense that this was my favourite as a kid as well. I think this is the one that I could most see being an episode, and there's a part of me that really feels like it might be. I've tried researching it but I can't find it, but it genuinely wouldn't surprise me. And I think it's the one that I must have remembered the most of as well, because I remembered the hobgoblins, and that's what I kept trying to research, because I was like, I'm sure this was an episode. I remember the hobgoblins. And then I was just like, well, maybe you remember them because you read about them. But yeah, this one definitely my favourite, and I absolutely love Halloween as well, so yeah, it was a great time. It was just nice nostalgia. It was nice rewatching the TV show. It was just, yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's interesting to see how my tastes have changed in some areas and how they haven't in other areas. What I notice more now than I did as a kid, I think is interesting. But yeah, that's it. If you've watched this all the way through, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one, hopefully tomorrow.